Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, hello. I hope you're doing well. Today, I'm gonna be reading you a bedtime story so you can fall asleep a little better. Who wouldn't want someone to read them bedtime story as you guys try to sleep? Anywho, we're gonna be reading a book called Sleeping Beauty. Now, this is a very much shortened version, but I hope you enjoyed the video. This is also very good practice for me as I have a really bad stutter. So this is really good practice for me. Let me hydrate before we do anything. Also, hello, hello, Yozora. Okay. Long ago, in France, there lived the king and queen. More than anything, they longed for a child. At last, to their greater happiness, the queen gave birth to a little girl. All the bells in the land were rung with joy. The king and queen invited all the fairies in the land to the naming party for the baby. And what a party it was! Plates and silverware of pure gold were set with care before each guest. But one fairy, Maleficent, who had left 50 years before and had not been seen in all that time, showed up at the door. Quickly, the king and queen found a place setting for the new guest. But alas, the plate and the silverware were not of pure gold. This made the old fairy very angry. Soon, it was time for each fairy to give her blessing to the baby. When it came to Maleficent's turn, she stood up and pointed her long finger at the sleeping baby in the cradle. I declare before all of you, Maleficent called out, that this child, on her 16th birthday, shall prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and die. A whoosh of smoke, the evil fairy vanished. Everyone cried out with alarm, as you can imagine. But one fairy had not yet given her blessing. The king and queen asked this fairy, whose name was Merryweather, to reverse the curse. Merryweather shook her head sadly. That was not possible. But she could soften the curse. On her 16th birthday, she said, when the princess pricked her finger on the spinning wheel, instead of dying, she will fall asleep for 100 years. 100 years, said the queen. Our daughter is turning 16. Oh, after our daughter turns 16, we will not know her anymore. The king ordered every spinning wheel in the kingdom to be brought to the palace and burned. To be extra sure the princess would not be anywhere near a spinning wheel, he ordered the fairy Merryweather, along with 2 other fairies, Flora and Fauna, to take the baby far away. The fairies would raise the child in a cottage deep in the woods. There, they would keep her safe until her 16th birthday. After that day, it would be safe to bring back the princess, who had been named Aurora, in the castle. Aurora grew up knowing no other than the 3 fairies, whom she was her aunts. The animals of the forest were friends. The birds and the deers, the chipmunks and the rabbits followed her around as she fed them treats and cooed to them. From the time she was little, Aurora was told she must stay inside the hills that surrounded them. She did not mind that in the least. The woods were wide and deep inside the hills, and there was plenty of room for her to play. One day, Aurora came to the cottage to find the 3 aunts preparing for a party. What's going on? She said. Tonight, we will celebrate your 16th birthday, said Flora. Is it? She said. Oh, yeah, she said. That means tomorrow I go back to the castle. Yes, said Merryweather. We have to keep you safe from that spinning wheel for 16 years. Soon, it will be time for you to take up your royal life as a princess. Thank you so much for the follow, little beast man. And the first thing for you will be to get married, said Fauna. Married already, said Aurora. Do you know who I'm supposed to marry? We do, said Fauna, with a wave of her hand, but there's no need to worry about that. Even if he's a bit strange, some may say a bit horrid, you won't have to spend much time with him after all. And he does come from a fine family, Flora added with a quick smile. Wait a minute, said Aurora, pulling back. Why did you say horrid? It's best not to focus on such things, dear, said Merryweather. Just do everything your husband tells you to do, said Flora, and you'll just be fine. This is not turning out like I thought, cried Aurora. How long do I have to stay married? For the rest of your life, of course, said Fauna. No, this is wrong, cried Aurora. She turned away, then said in a firm voice, I would rather prick my finger on a spinning wheel and fall asleep for 100 years than have to marry someone that I don't want to marry. Maybe by the time I wake up, people won't have to get married if they don't want to. And she ran out the door. Dear me, said Merryweather to the other two fairies. I don't believe that went over very well. Aurora ran deep into the woods where her animal friends lived. A deer hopped beside her, along with rabbits and chipmunks. We have to get her out of here, she said to all of them. Then pointing to a mountain pass, she said, We'll go right through the hills. Soon, Aurora came to a road. In the distance was a carriage coming closer to her. As the rider approached, her animal friends scattered. Hey-o, said the stranger. I'm afraid my carriage scared away your pets. May I give you a lift? Aurora had never seen a man before, but she couldn't think about that. Unless she could find a spinning wheel, the very next day her aunts would take her back to the palace. Actually, said Aurora to the stranger, there is something I need a great deal. What is that? Said the stranger, hopping out of the carriage. Very nicely dressed he was, and well-mannered too. A spinning wheel, said Aurora. A spinning wheel, said the stranger. But there are none left in the land. Everyone knows that. Well, you see, said Aurora, rubbing her hands together. I have this friend. She needs a spinning wheel in the worst way. Aurora looked directly at the stranger. It's a matter of life or death. The stranger looked at Aurora's eyes. At last, he said, I may know of one, he said, but this needs to stay between me and you. The stranger stepped closer. Not far from here lives an old woman who spins yarn all her life. When the orders came to burn all the spinning wheels, she could not bear to let go of her beloved spinning wheel since it had been in her family for years. She came to me, he said, pointing down the road, as I'm the prince from the next kingdom. She begged me to let her store it safely. So I put it in the attic room of my castle tower, where no one ever goes until the 16 years have passed. Would you take me to your castle tower? Said Aurora. I shouldn't, said the prince. Then after a moment, he said, But I will. She stepped into his carriage. Soon they were at the tower. They both stepped out. The prince said, This is not for your friend, is it? Thank you for taking me here, said Aurora. I will always remember your kindness. Now, if you please, I must do what I must do. Aurora turned and went up the tower stair to the very last stair. The door in front of her creaked open. Inside was a dark and musty space. She could hardly take a step for all the spider webs. But she pushed them aside and stepped forward. There, in the far corner, was the spinning wheel. From a small window, she could tell the sun was already setting. I hope this works, she said, before it's too late. Aurora held out her fingers to the tip of the spindle. She pricked her finger on the spindle. One tiny droplet of blood dripped from her finger. At once, Aurora felt dizzy. She fell onto a old dusty velvet blanket that laid out on the attic floor and fell into a deep slumber. Moments later, all the others in this castle, servants and royals alike, fell asleep too. And so did the prince, who was still waiting for her outside the tower. Within hours, thorns and vines had sprung up and wrapped around the castle so thickly that no human or beast could pass through. For 100 years, Aurora and the others slept. After 100 years have passed, Aurora blinked with her eyes, awake. Then all the others in the castle also awoke. Everyone started to do what they had been doing when they had fallen asleep 100 years before. The thorns and vines around the castles melted away. Aurora stepped down from the tower stairs to find the prince. Together, they stepped into the prince's carriage. Down the road to the market square, they discovered a whole new world. Bicycles, streetcars, cameras, and streetlights, such a marvel to behold. Perhaps best of all, they learned that in this strange new time, it was quite alright for young women and men to get to know each other if that is what they do, and perhaps even fall in love. As Aurora and the prince took each other's hand to explore this new wonderful world together, that is exactly what they do. The end. Hold up a minute. This is not the original not Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. The ending literally has a photo of modern day society. Hold up a second. What is this? Wait a minute, what is this? I like this revision. I mean, it has a very nice ending. I will admit that. The ending is very wholesome how do I say? In a turn where men and women can fall in love with each other after getting to know each other, rather than having arranged marriages, I guess. I think it was a better version. That was a better version. 100-year nap. Let's go. Yeah, let's go. I really need a 100-year nap. Holy shit. This is a very interesting story. I've always wanted to do like a Pokemon Nuzlocke, but I'm so scared of losing a Pokemon that I've been I was supposed to like grooming. No. Not grooming, not grooming, not grooming. I've been racing. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming,